Hello everyone, I'm McKenzie Mitchell and welcome to Threads. Today we're in Houston, Texas at Reality of Wrestling with royalty. She's a former pageant queen, professional dancer on the grandest of stages, a business owner, and a WWE Hall of Famer. She is a pure example of brains and beauty, Sharmell Huffman. We are in the presence of a queen. Queen Sharmell, hi, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
I am good, and I am so excited to be at Reality of Wrestling. Like, we're in the facility. It's so beautiful in here.
This is our home.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to ring announce tonight. I'll be doing some ring announcing here.
Absolutely.
Kind of showing my skills off a little bit. But I'm so excited to have you on Threads because I'm a fan of yours. You're just such an inspiration and role model to so many females, truly, of you're a businesswoman, you're an entrepreneur, you're an actress, like the list goes on. And not only that, you're a fashion icon. Can we talk about what you're wearing today?
Listen, I was gonna say the same about you, but thank you. But yes, today I am wearing Giovanni.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
I absolutely love the feathers and the glitz and the glam.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, well, you've had so many different versions of Queen Sharmell when we talk about early days of pageantry, and then we kind of go into some professional dance, and then we eventually segue into professional wrestling, Storm, Paisley, the list goes on. Do you have a favorite version of yourself?
Oh wow, that's a great question. A favorite version of myself, I think, would be Queen Sharmell, and I'm taking that back to the beauty pageant days because I think that's where it all started.
Yeah. Is there a current superstar in any company that you love their look and what they're doing right now?
I am all about and will forever be all about Bianca Belair.
Oh, aren't we all though?
She's phenomenal. Yes. And the fact that she makes her own gear, if you can't tell already, I'm a clothes person. I remember when I first met you and I saw your shoes, I completely freaked out. We talked about different designers that we like, that we have in common. So yes, so to answer your question, Bianca Belair, hands down.
Bianca Belair, and not to steer too far of that, you mentioned when we first met, we talked about designer shoes.
Yes.
And then fast forward, we're at NXT, and I think I stole Booker's phone, and I'm just talking to you about shoes for 10 minutes.
Right,
like,
exactly.
That's when I knew we were gonna be friends.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
This is gonna work. This is our friendship right here developing in front of our eyes.
Yep.
Well, we mentioned your pageantry days. Let's talk about you were Miss Black Indiana, and then you became Miss Black America in 1991. Like, what an amazing accomplishment. Myself, a pageant girl, I know that's huge.
Yes.
Were you wearing your same gown from Indiana into Miss Black America?
I wore the same gown. At that time, I was really, really young. I think I was only 20 years old when I won that pageant. So I didn't really, have a lot or know a lot at that time. And so I just stuck with the same gear. And that's why, fast forward to, and I call it gear. Of course, it was gowns back then, not gear. But fast forward to my wrestling days, and it's like, wow, I get to change outfits sometimes multiple times in a show, let alone every show. So yeah, but back then it was one gown, and now I've graduated to many.
Yes, of course. How did you find that gown? What was the inspiration, or where did you find your evening gown that, where you had your crowning moment?
So I was fortunate, I'm from a small town, Gary, Indiana, and I had a couple of people who believed in me, and they went out, sponsored me, found my gown. It just so happened to be perfect. I don't have it anymore because I don't even think I could fit my big toe in it at this point. But I keep pictures of it. And so even back then, before I knew what it was, I guess I had a team, and they really put me together.
And then how were they finding your looks? Because you were doing media and interviews and all these different types of appearances. How were they finding those looks for you?
They just really went out and looked at the magazines to see what was fashionable at the time. And then they would go out and put a little spin on it, make it my own. But whatever was the in thing at the moment, they would go ahead and find something similar.
When you were younger, were you always about the glitz and glam?
I absolutely was.
Yes.
I was always glitter, sequins, things like that. So boas, because I was a dancer, so I had all these costumes that I would just grab a linen off of the table or something like that if it was sparkly or I thought it was pretty. So I've always been into patterns and designs and fashion. I have always loved it.
Relatable, to be honest. Relatable, that's me as well. I'm like, if it sparkles, I'm into it.
Absolutely.
You mentioned you were a professional dancer. You were were dancing for James Brown. Like, I don't even know if people realize that was an accomplishment in itself before you even entered the professional wrestling world.
Right.
Tell me about some of your looks from when you were on stage as a dancer.
So James Brown was a very coveted position. I think at the time it was James Brown, Michael Jackson, and Madonna. Those were the top 3 people that you could dance for. So the amazing thing about James Brown is how professional he was. We always used to joke that we did 2 shows a night. The first show was sound check, which was a full-blown show, full-blown rehearsal, and then the next one was the actual show. So one thing that he taught me was to always be prepared, because my first night, I will never forget my first night dancing for James Brown. I thought, I'm gonna kill this, right? It's gonna be all of that,
confidence is key, okay.
right? But what I did not do was I did not rehearse in the boots that I was gonna be wearing for the show. That is why I have saved these boots to this day. These boots are so heavy because this is an actual
can I grab
steel.
one?
Yes. They are so heavy. And so
Sharmell.
I went to dance and could not lift my feet. I thought surely I was gonna get fired. So I immediately went home and started dancing in ankle weights.
As you,
In
you
ankle
kind of
weights,
have to
right,
get accustomed to
be
this.
able to. So when I tell you I was ready after that,
Like, you can hear
it.
this.
Yeah.
Like, was this kind of your standard boot for every show?
Yeah, and they traveled much like with wrestling, how we have the crates, the wardrobe crates. These traveled, which was why I had to go and get ankle weights so I could practice, because these were on the tour bus and on the planes and all of that kind of stuff going from show to show. But yeah, so I said, no, you will not catch me slipping again.
No, you won't. No, you won't. Lesson learned,
Lesson
right?
learned.
And I'm sure that transitions too into, the pageantry world, into professional wrestling. Like, you kind of get accustomed to what you like, and then once you have that fit, it's comfortable and you stay there.
Yep. Exactly.
So I think a lot like professional wrestling, as a dancer, you not only have to have the appeal and the look, but you also kind of have to be an athlete in a sense. You have to be able to move on stage. Was there something for you that was really important, whether it be fabric or just comfortability, that made you feel at home on stage?
What made me feel at home, oddly enough, is fishnet stockings.
Okay.
So, you wear your stockings and then you wear the fishnets over top. And so it just made me feel secure, like everything is sucked in, nothing's gonna fall out, and I'm gonna be safe. So fishnet stockings for me.
And then later it came all to fruition again, where it just kind of circled back with professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
Was there a look that you just didn't particularly love when you were on stage, that maybe you saw it off when it was just on the hanger and you're like, oh, okay, cute, and then you put it on and it didn't work? Or was there one going in that you're like, this is just not my jam?
So fortunately, I was with someone who, much like us, was very, very into fashion. So my partner in dance with James Brown was Heather Hayes, and she is the legendary Isaac Hayes' daughter. She was in charge of all of the costumes as well. She was the most senior dancer on the tour. And when I tell you, Heather's fashion, even to this day, is on point. So I never had to worry about costume designs when talking about dancing and touring.
I love that. And being on stage, you have to feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
How do you find your inner confidence in what you're wearing, and even how you're presenting yourself when you're in front of a crowd?
How do I find my inner confidence? I think it starts with the fit of everything. The fit, if something fits right, it just makes everything else fall into place. So the one costume in dancing that I did have the privilege of picking was my solo attire for Man's World. So Man's World with James Brown was a very coveted spot because there was a soloist dancer, so just one dancer got that spot. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that.
Of course you did.
So
I love that.
So it was amazing, and I was able to pick, a long flowy skirt so it moved with me, and it's almost like whatever motion I was doing or whatever emotion I was trying to evoke, the fabric and the material and the fit allowed me to do that. So when I had the confidence of just knowing my fit is right.
Yes.
Right? Then I could go ahead and just perform to the best of my ability and entertain the crowd.
For sure.
Yeah.
How much of what you were doing in professional dance were you bringing into professional wrestling?
All of it. Dance is, it's obviously choreography, it's timing, it's rhythm, and you have to have all of that when you're in the ring with your opponent. Timing is key, rhythm is key, so they're very similar, but I know, you always hear the boys say this is not ballet, and it is not. right? It definitely is not. But there is a certain rhythm and flow that dancers, it's even when you see football players taking ballet, it's to get that rhythm and that footwork and that type of thing, being light on your feet. So I did bring all of that into wrestling.
What about your attire and your look from professional dance to professional wrestling?
Always, because again, my friend Heather was into sequin, rhinestone, anything that was sparkle and shine. So as Storm, I did that. As Paisley, I did that. And definitely as Queen Sharmell.
Sure. You mentioned as Storm. Let's talk about, you were one of the OG Nitro Girls. What an honor in itself.
Oh my gosh.
And how were you finding those looks when you guys were essentially creating something that didn't exist?
Yeah, it was very different because the Nitro Girls were groundbreaking. They were trailblazers. Absolutely amazing. So fortunately, we had an incredible seamstress, Sandra. And I believe Sandra's over at AEW right now, if I'm not mistaken. But she does some incredible designs. And again, I've been fortunate in my career to be able to have my costumes in the hands of designers who really get it, or we have the same kind of style, or people who I've been drawn to just like I was immediately drawn to you. So I've been fortunate in that aspect. But yes, Sandra, she just thought of these wild, crazy, beautiful costumes and seemingly did them overnight, and they were incredible.
Which is magic in itself.
Yes, absolutely.
Did you have a favorite look from Nitro days?
I did. For some reason, I do not know why. It's a white blazer that had tails in the back, and it has teal sequin circles on it. I don't even know what the design is, and some little white hot pants, but that was my favorite outfit, in a teal sequin bra that went underneath it.
Which I feel like that's you. Like if you know you personally, I feel like it brings the elegance and the grace, but it also is hot and it's got a little bit of flair to it. So I 100% could see that on you.
And I still have it to this day.
You do. Do you have it here today?
I have it here today.
Let's bring it out.
Let's bring it out. So this is my outfit. It's the blazer. It has the little tails in the back, and you're right, it's very Queen Sharmell, right?
This is almost similar. I mean, it's a bra top, but it's kind of similar to what I'm wearing today.
Exactly. And now these little hot pants, woo child. But yes. But I have my fishnet stockings on, so.
Girl.
But this is one of my favorite looks.
And you were saying on the inside of the tag.
On the inside tag, this is the original tag, and it says Storm.
That she had just handwritten.
She just hand wrote Storm on the tag, and I'm so super excited. So these are just memories, right?
So do you know how she was kind of creating these designs on a weekly basis?
I have no idea, but let me tell you what I really, really love. I don't know that most people can appreciate this, but she has a little elastic here in the armpit so that we can dance and, you know, give us a little give to be able to, you know, raise our arms and do all kind of moves. But Sandra thought of absolutely everything. There's the elastic in the back as well. So I absolutely love this. I don't know how she came up with these designs, but I think this was perfect for me.
It absolutely fit. It's so fitting for you. How were you guys changing your look on a weekly basis?
It almost seemed like we were changing our looks with the wind, because we did have a different costume every time we performed. And I think we performed maybe 4 to 5 times a night. So there really wasn't a theme. It kind of just whatever we thought was cute.
And what would work at the time.
And what would work at the time. You know, sometimes we were in overalls and a little cutoff shirt. Or sometimes, you know, just jean shorts and a sparkly top. Sometimes it was something more over the top. So just whatever worked.
And where did Storm come to be?
We were allowed to choose our names as Nitro Girls, and I was obsessed with the X-Men, Storm in particular. So that's why I selected that name.
And you were giving, obviously, were you trying to channel some of Storm into what you were wearing and how your overall appearance was as well whenever you were dancing and you were in front of a crowd?
I did. You know, I was always known for my high ponytail.
Yes.
Which I brought back. But when I thought about Storm, I thought about the elements, you know, the wind. And so with the ponytail, you know, and just my movements just could create a tornado or a hurricane or something like that. So I did always think about that anytime I choreographed something or anytime I stepped on the stage. I said, how can I bring Storm into this?
How can you channel?
That's right.
Yes, 100%. When you were changing to become a valet and you were managing instead of dancing, What was your mentality shift there, or was there one?
There absolutely was one. It was a Friday afternoon. I got a call from Vince Russo, and he said, hey, when you get to television on Monday, I want you to be Paisley Park. So go find something purple to wear.
Just like that.
Just like that. So I ran to Little 5 Points in Atlanta, found a whole bunch of purple stuff, and found some Paisley prints.
Yep.
And there we go. I said, okay, well, I love prints. We can do this.
Yes, and why purple? Do you know why purple?
I don't know why. I have no, and I didn't even ask. That was part, again, going back to James Brown, be ready for whatever.
Yes, and it's so funny because through doing the show, I've learned that people have different colors that feel right to them. Gold, purple, red. So it almost became that purple was your signature color
It was,
going forward.
and listen, purple represents royalty.
Yes.
So here we are with Queen Sharmell. It's been a theme throughout my career.
Well, when you were developing Queen Sharmell, then how was your shift in mentality there? From you were Storm, then you were Paisley, and you were having to embody who that character was, to becoming Queen Sharmell. How did that all play hand in hand?
So it was awesome because I did have my pageantry days to pull from. Now, what was a little difficult, but ended up being the best time of my life, was when we turned heel. Because I'm so used to pageantry, and you wave and everybody loves you and they applaud you. But when they boo you, that's something completely different.
Right.
So there was an initial shock with that. But then all of a sudden I fell in love with it. And I said, how have I ever been anything else but a heel? Absolutely love it.
And you just became that persona.
Just became it. Wow. Because it was almost freeing. You don't have to worry about if people, no, they don't like you. So you don't have to worry about, do they like you? You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about that. You know you're going to get booed. So it was almost relaxing, if that even makes sense. I just loved it.
Was that an immediate gratification thing, or was that something that developed over time?
I think it was immediate because so much of my life has been subjective. I've been doing pageants since I was 12 years old, and that's subjective. Will the judges like you? Will they not? Do they appreciate this talent, that look, this style? You never know. It's completely subjective. So to just be able to go out there and say, this is what it is, this is what you get.
That's interesting you say that, because we do always say in the pageantry world, which you would understand, it's one person's opinion. That's right. On a singular day.
On a singular day, any given day.
And you would never know what would be different if the times were to turn. It was
or
a
the
different
judge
day.
was different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
How are you finding your gowns for Queen Sharmell?
Just whatever I like. Yeah, I would just go into different stores and, if first it had to have rhinestone or sequin to catch my eye, but.
Understood.
Yeah, but that truly was just whatever I like.
Okay, so this is one of your favorite gowns from Queen Sharmell.
One of my favorites, yes, because, it's black and I was a bad guy, right? And so I love it. It's kind of low cut, the back is out, but I love the big.
Yes, like a peplum almost.
Right, and the jewels, it's bejeweled, so it caught the light really well. And then again, there was the flowiness to it. So I liked that, being a bad person and being able to act like, what, who, me?
Yes.
What? No.
Wait, yeah.
So I love this because it was really regal and, had the little tassels here and the flow to it. So this was one of my favorites, as well as when I wanted to be particularly evil, this red gown.
Red.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And this was form-fitting with a little train and had the back out with a little strap here, so.
Was there ever a time that, they always say in wrestling, you want to bring your gear in a carry-on, you want to bring it with you. Was there ever a time that you checked your luggage and then your luggage got lost and you weren't without a gown that you had? Do you have a story of that sort?
So the only story I have about a missing gown is Booker was wrestling Undertaker.
Okay.
And I was so intimidated that I just could not get my head together. And I ended up, after the match, just leaving my gown in the shower at some random, I don't know why the gown was in the shower in the first place, but I just left it there. Really expensive sequin gown. It was yellow, I will never forget. But fortunately, I was able to leave my gowns in the crates. So my gowns traveled with with the trucks.
Which is
so
such a
they were
nice
safe.
thing.
Yes.
Because I also was going to say, these gowns they're not easy to pack.
Right.
So yes, you can throw them in luggage or whatever, but they can be hefty and they can be big. And if there's tulle involved or different materials, then it's like, how do you pack these things?
This black dress is
hold the
heavy.
red for
It's
you.
heavy.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh, well, the red is as well.
yeah. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's like a blanket. It's like
Right.
you're
Oh,
traveling with multiple blankets in your bag.
Yeah.
For people that don't understand wearing a gown, that can kind of relate there. Was there someone that you were embodying their character from, from queens from the past? Or were you watching any kind of film or tape, if you will, or even icons in the musician, like it's a musician or in the pop culture world, to really embody who Queen Sharmell was? Or was that just you that
So
came through?
I'm glad you asked that, because one of my WrestleMania, I won't even say dresses, I will say my WrestleMania attire was solely based on Diana Ross. So your old school Motown singers, entertainers, and I absolutely call them queens.
Yeah.
I would try to channel them in my attire.
Totally.
Yeah.
Was there a part of your look, obviously you were wearing the gown, and you did have a tiara on as well. Was there another part in the details of the look that maybe television didn't see, but that just felt to you like it completed the look?
Well, I would have to say my accessories, because I would always go over the top with rings and bracelets and earrings. So those are just the little things, but I would pretend like those jewels, which were way larger than my Hall of Fame ring. Like I would have some big rings on, but I would pretend like that was an actual diamond
As
or
you
ruby or
should.
emerald.
It's embodying a character.
So, yeah, so just the little things, the little detail, like, the queen earrings I have on today.
Flawless.
Little details, yeah.
And you know what? I noticed that as well as a jewelry designer,
Right.
and I have my own jewelry brand. I have to say I love your earrings today.
Thank you.
I noticed you were wearing a choker a lot of the time that was just really big and thick, and it
Right.
almost felt like a statement. Was that what you were trying to say?
Absolutely. Everything was a statement piece. I don't care if it was earrings, necklace, rings, whatever, shoes, everything was a statement piece. And I had to, have the complete look
Yeah.
to feel like the queen.
Booker came out with a robe.
Yes.
He had his robe and his crown. Did you ever have a robe made for you?
I did not.
Or a cape, I should say, not a robe.
Well, the one WrestleMania outfit, I kind of had it double as a cape. And that was the look that I got from Diana Ross. This piece of loveliness. All right, so yes, this was my halter top.
Okay.
And this was
Little
the
tiny
skirt.
pieces.
What was I thinking? Little tiny, of course it's bejeweled. But here's the part that I love. So when I came to the ring, I was completely covered up in this, right? This was wrapped around me like a cape. And then I all of a sudden slowly let the cape go, and it turned into my train.
Wow.
So this flowed down the ramp with me. And I just love the feathers and the sparkle, the detail.
the
And I got that,
Swarovskis.
yes, from Diana Ross had a red boa feather thingy that she did, and she unveiled it, and it became the dress. And I
was
said,
the
yes,
moment.
it was the moment.
So when you were working with the designer for this, was this Sandra that you were talking about?
No, so this was Julie, one of the WWE seamstresses, and I told her my vision, and she just executed it perfectly.
I have learned that Julie is she has done so many of the most iconic looks in WWE.
Absolutely.
From the Bellas to you to John Morrison. The
Yes,
list goes
and she's
on.
meticulous with it. Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is beautiful. And I'm not kidding when I say I have to
You
borrow
can
this
look.
for
You can
something.
absolutely borrow it.
Because here's the thing, it's these looks get sometimes one wear, one
Right,
moment.
right.
And then what do you do with this?
It's been sitting in a bag in my closet. So.
And how do you store all of you guys' items, you and Booker's together?
I have a huge cedar closet. My husband will tell anyone who will listen that I'm a pack rat. Yes, I am. But you can't give this away.
Right.
So all of the stuff is just in bags in a cedar closet.
And it gets brought out again for moments like this.
That's right. That's
100%.
right.
So we have to talk about, when we mention iconic looks, we have to talk about your WWE Hall of Fame look when you were inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was stunning and it was beautiful and it was everything Take me through where that gown came from and how you decided on that one for such a big moment.
I was really struggling with my Hall of Fame gown because obviously that's a huge moment and you want it to be right. So it just so happened that my husband was doing a speaking engagement in Dallas a few weeks before Hall of Fame. No, I'd say about a month before Hall of Fame. So I said, let me just tag along with you. And I went, I had lunch with Che, one of our former Nitro Girls who lives in Dallas, and Che has amazing style. I said, Che, you know, I still don't have a dress for Hall of Fame. Do you know of any place? And she said, yeah, let me take you to this one designer. So we went and I tried on several dresses. Now, the dress that I ended up wearing was just sitting there. I looked at it. I didn't want to try it on or anything like that. I tried on some other gowns. I had settled on one, but I thought it might be a little bit too risque for Hall of Fame. And so the designer said, just try this one on. Again, the one I ended up wearing. I'm like, fine, you know, whatever. I tried it on. It was almost like bells and whistles went off. It was the fit. It was the one. And I remember, and I have footage of it. I walked out and I looked at myself in the mirror and I immediately did a curtsy. And I said, this is it. Right there in the showroom. Something it just all fell together.
And you know
but
what?
Looking at it hanging up, you wouldn't think that was the one.
And sometimes that's the best looks, because when you said that, it gave me a little bit of chills because it's kind of a synergy moment. It's so coincidental that you were getting inducted as Queen Sharmell and then being able to feel that character come through in what you were wearing is so unique. And I think that that's something that's really hard to come by for a lot of people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Did you feel comfortable in that gown all night? Once you put it on and you became that character?
I felt like royalty from start to finish. Such an amazing night.
And how was that day for you? Was it a lot of stress, or were you just calm and collected for that day of Hall of Fame?
I was a hot mess because I did not even start my speech until the morning of Hall of Fame. And the writers and everybody, I know they probably were, even though they didn't say anything, I know they were probably panicking, but I kept telling them, I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I got this. And sure enough, I handed my speech in about, you know, maybe an hour or two before we started, and they didn't need to make any adjustments to it. I think I had a really good speech.
Yes.
I'm a very good writer. I can say that about myself. And so the whole night was just magical, even though beforehand I really was a hot mess.
Well, it didn't play out. Everybody, what everybody saw was just grace and elegance.
That's awesome.
And now, this past year's Hall of Fame, did you have a custom gown designed for you for this past Hall of Fame?
I did.
When I
designer here.
Not to interrupt you, when I saw Booker posting that first, and then you posted it, I was like, oh, okay, which we kind of talked about a little bit before, what you were gonna wear for Hall of Fame, and the one that you settled on was just beautiful. Tell me that story.
Well, so for those of you who don't know, I talked to McKenzie because I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to wear, what I should wear. And that's usually never a problem for me. I love fashion and always know, you know, what I'm gonna do. But for some reason, I was really, really struggling with this Hall of Fame. I have no clue why. Thank goodness a dear friend and my publicist stepped in and started calling around designers, and we found one here in Houston.
Nice.
I took my mom. I wasn't familiar with the designer, but I said, let's just go. Let's just see what happens. It was another moment of just, oh my gosh, this is it. So I have been really, really fortunate when it comes to that part. But I tried on 3 different gowns. All of them were gorgeous. It was just difficult to figure out which one to wear.
Yeah.
The 2 that I decided not to wear were both black. I wanted a pop of color this year, so I decided the orange one, which, you know, of course, I think is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, so it just fell into place.
What's your personal style? If we were to catch you on a daily basis, what are you wearing?
My friends like to joke with me. They say that I have no middle ground.
Okay.
I either look like someone who lives under a bridge or I look like a runway model. There is no in between. So that's just
So
what
you
they
never
tell
know.
me.
It's just
You-
based on the day.
You never know.
I love that because, you know, it's so interesting. People go through my social media and they think that I am that all the time. And I know you can relate to
I can
that when you're
relate,
putting all of
yes.
these looks on social media. Yes, you love to feel put together, but that's not reality.
Sometimes I am not. Yeah.
That's not reality. We
Right.
are just normal people at the end of the day.
Exactly, exactly. And I have twins who are very, very active. So sometimes I do not match when I leave the house, you know, so yeah.
So what's going on in your life now? We've talked a little bit about the past, but what are you interested in and what are you doing now in your life?
Right now I'm acting. I'm doing a lot of auditions. The other day I just had 3 auditions in one day, which for people who don't know is very draining because you're having to become 3 completely different people.
Yes.
And that is very, very tiring. So I just had a call back from one of them, fingers crossed, we'll see. But I'm also writing. I've written a television series that I'm shopping now. And, you know, it's much like with reality of wrestling. You just do it yourself. So Booker and I, of course, are building reality of wrestling. We are trying to train the next generation of superstars. And that's really where our heart and soul lies right now and all of our time.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, Sharmell, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for having me in
Of
Texas City.
course,
It's
McKenzie.
awesome. I'm so excited for tonight.
And listen, you have to come back so we can go shopping.
I know, girl.
Yeah.
We need to get cocktails and we
All
need to
of
like
that.
hang out
All
and
of
all
that.
of the things. So, well, thanks so much. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharmell.